Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week. Every now and then, we hear a lot of news about natural disasters. From earthquakes to hurricanes and everything in between, they all come with great amounts of pain. But if direct victims and experts are to be asked, volcanic eruptions are probably one of the greatest pains in the butt. So today, we'll be looking at 10 of the largest volcanic eruptions ever recorded in history. Number 1 was an enduring mystery that brought a terrific winter, which lasted a whole year, so watch out for that. Number 10. The 1902 Mount Pelée of the Antilles. In the Lesser Antilles volcanic arc on the island of Martinique lies the summit of Mount Pelée. And its eruption began on April 23, 1902, with gentle volcanic explosions that escalated within days. According to reports, these massive bangs rose above anything anyone has ever heard since the Europeans colonized the island. But it eventually subsided over the next few days, only to strike again on May 5th, the same year, with a comeback several times greater than what was before. A cloud of ash laced with lightning pillows out of the earth in a hurricane-like avalanche of pyroclastic mudflow that outran even the fastest man. Accompanied by damaging trade winds, several villages were covered in heavy ash that caused total darkness to the west. Villagers fled to more than 10 kilometers to the east, but the 1,000-foot plumes of ash plus an eventual tsunami wouldn't stop coming. It buried houses, mills, and over 30,000 people on its path till its final eruption on October 5th. That's bad, but what's coming next on this list would render all those calamities moot. Number 9. The 1912 Nova Rupta. While many people have never heard of Nova Rupta amidst popular ones like Yellowstone, a couple of others got its name wrong for almost a jubilee. And if you're either of them, knowing that Nova Rupta is a dome-shaped volcanic mountain sitting right in the middle of the Alaskan Peninsula might be one of the best ways to start its story. But despite being in the shadow for a long time, the swing of 1912 came with a massive blast heard continuously for an hour in the city of Juneau, 750 miles away. Severe ash fall and red-hot lava 30 times that of St. Helens in the 80s engulfed the whole southern Alaska, crushing houses under their weight. The eruption went so far to create a crater the size of 35 football fields on Mount Katmai, situated 6 miles away, and it made the sun disappear for almost 3 days, reducing visibility to almost nil at midday. Rivers were made undrinkable for years, and all the neighboring lands damaged by the largest known eruption of the 20th century were later dubbed the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. Number 8. The 1883 Tsunami Krakatoa. Standing as a volcanic blast with the most extensive airborne sound in recorded history, the 1883 eruption of Mount Krakatoa in Indonesia spanned thousands of miles across the world. Billows of hot ash that turned the sky blood red were visible to all ships moving across the Sunda Strait. Earthquakes rumbled in series with effects that were felt all the way in Australia, and the whole island where Mount Krakatoa itself sat snuffed into gaseous oblivion for nearly 5 days. But all that happened while the eruption was still at its preliminary phase. By August 25th of 1883, the eruption became so intense that loud outbursts can be heard every 10 seconds, bringing along severe explosions that created an 830 feet deep crater. More than 36,000 people went down with the debris, but not all of them were killed directly from the blast and the ashfall. The tragedy is owed to a series of 120-foot walls of massive tsunamis resulting from the caldera debris plunged into the nearby sea. And those terrific waves wiped out 165 coastal villages on the island of Java in Sumatra, sited 760 kilometers away. Number 7. The 15th century Huayna Putih. After 9,000 years of slumber, the Huayna Putih volcano in Peru woke as the largest volcanic eruption ever recorded in South America's history. Erupting with a 6 out of 8 explosivity index, Huayna Putih was felt throughout the whole region, especially in the city of Arequipa, located 77 kilometers away. Houses were buried in almost 6 feet of ash. Climates changed with the aftermath so severe that all vegetations were wiped. The whole region was covered in cold waves alongside several million tons of toxic acids. And it all began on a fateful February 16, 1600, with very mild earthquakes. Within a few days, the earthquake grew much more intense, along with a 75-foot stream of red-hot lava, launching plumes of ash perceived as far as Antarctica. More than 26 cubic kilometers of rocks were generated from this eruption alone. Witnesses reported seeing large tongues of fire rising thousands of feet skyward. And when experts investigated that rumor, it was confirmed that the eruption went high enough to penetrate the planetary layer found in our atmosphere. With that, it became the largest eruption ever in the whole northern hemisphere. Number 6. The 1783 Laki. Depending on who's saying it, a volcanic eruption can either be considered large by the explosive index or how many lives went with it, or perhaps by the number of months it took to erupt. But if we're going by the last two, the Laki eruption is definitely one of the largest in history, because unlike others, it went non-stop for more than 8 months, ravaging the entire country of Iceland with a stream of basaltic lava that could pave the entire roads in Boston. With such a vast lava fountain, its ash plumes expectedly journeyed more than 50,000 feet skyward, before racing down the mountain flanks with enormous gases that flushed acid rains over Iceland for months. Trees got burnt down to the roots, 60% of livestock died from acid corrosion, and more than 100,000 people could no longer live with the eventual famine that affected almost 6 million people globally. That plus many more is why the Laki eruption was one of those times the world nearly ended, as thousands reportedly gave up the ghost in Europe, Russia, and China from events linked to the unthinkable disaster. Number 5. Ilopango, El Salvador. In most cases, volcanic eruptions majorly affect the people within its kill zones, with only little gas reaching those on the outside. However, 535 AD eruption of Mount Ilopango did not only clear out the Maya settlement near it, but it also caused a global cooling that went on for decades. Before the eruption, the mountain had been tranquil for years, convincing people that it was dormant. When it did erupt, the welcoming blast was 100 times more than St. Helens eruption in the 80s, ejecting over 10.5 cubic miles of dense rock that ravaged its surrounding areas in all directions. Ash plumes released from the massive eruption reflected sunlight away from the Earth, dropping temperatures in many areas like Greenland and forming ice cores in farther places like Antarctica. Crop failures were recorded in Europe and everywhere else. The eruption itself claimed over 80,000 lives directly, and a million others died from the resulting starvation and the sudden extreme cold. Till today, the ice blocks found at the North Pole still bear several fingerprints of this monster volcano, waiting patiently as a beautiful crater lake. Number 4. The 1792 Mount Unzen in Japan. For almost 3 centuries, Japan got a huge share of the world's tragedy. From the Hiroshima bombings to flooding, all elements took a terrific toll on them. In the 1792 Mount Unzen eruption in the Kyushu district, situated a few distances from Nagasaki, was not more merciless. Like regular volcanoes, it started with earthquakes, followed swiftly by a landslide that crumbled the 4,000-year-old dome mountain sitting right next to it. Unfortunately, the debris from the collapse swept through the whole city of Shimabara, a few miles away, tumbling houses and residents on its way until its final stop at the Ariake Sea. But the monster effect from the volcano didn't end there. The piles of rocks washed into the sea created the disturbance in the water level that set off a tsunami. Waves after waves, massive water surges mull over everything in its path. Nothing was spared from animals to people, and over 15,000 residents were sent on a journey of no return. As a reminder of the deadliest volcanic eruption in Japanese history, scars of the eruption landslide tsunami combo remain visible to date. Number 3. Mount Pinatubo, 1991. At the time of its eruption, Mount Pinatubo wasn't even included on the list of volcanoes because it lacked a regular cone-shaped structure and has been dormant for 600 years. When it erupted, it came with a bit of a shock to many scientists and the people living near it. But thanks to the prediction of the United States and Philippine observers who never for once stopped monitoring the volcano, many lives and $250 million worth of property were saved. The eruption, however, was massive regardless. The first wave of explosions released 17 million tons of sulfuric gas that damaged the global temperature for years and buried houses meant for 100,000 residents in ash. Jungles were smashed, towns became flattened, and sugarcane fields could no longer be seen, all because of the subsequent waves of eruption that followed within days. And this time, an unfortunate typhoon came into the show, bringing heavy downfalls in the refugee camps located far away from the Pinatubo shadow. Now it's time for today's best pick. Our pick for today may be a little recent, but it's no less significant, and it's the closest thing we've ever had to understand how shocking massive eruptions would have been to victims who were caught unaware under deadly ashfall from volcanoes. Number 2. Volcán de Fuego. Sunday, June 3rd, 2018 was the precise date of eruption for Volcán de Fuego, which officially is one of Central America's most active volcanoes. And it came out of the blue for the residents who earlier believed that evacuation was needless for the eruption. But as a true example of Mother Nature that it was, Volcán de Fuego sent a massive torrent of ash, mud, and lava over the neighboring communities, who just like anyone else went on with their daily lives. When the first jet of ash billowed out, everyone thought it was usual. But when the ash-laden gas traveled to a point in the air where it could be seen clearly from space, catapulting rocks the size of a baseball, everyone knew something was wrong. In a short while after that, people began to flee as a stream of blinding smoke started racing towards them at a speed twice the fastest man alive. Luckily, people farther from ground zero were able to make it out, but many people couldn't get out with getting burnt. If the sheer size of the gas released was any indication, the eruption was absolutely massive.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works.
Number 1. Mount Tambora, 1815. Dropping with a thunder sound heard 800 miles away, Mount Tambora steamed to life on April 5th, 1815, with force worthy of the history books on its own. But the actual show began 5 days later with fire columns rocketing up the sky like towers. People of Subaraya, 300 miles away, felt the ground move as the mountain peak exploded into a crater deeper than 11 football fields arranged as ladders. Rivers of hot ash mixed with incandescent lava poured down the mountain flanks. Grasslands and forests turned into deserts by unstoppable fire. Tsunamis raced across the Java Sea, and 10,000 must have died instantly with the estimated force they came with. Though the eruption took place in Indonesia, the ashfall and gas circled the entire globe, shrinking the temperature below the unbearable limit for crops. The following year, dubbed the Year Without Summer, came with unseasonable chills and famine felt across the northern hemisphere. Without a doubt, the 1815 eruption in Mount Tambora was the world's largest eruption for the past 10,000 years. And the island of Sumbawa was the home to a climate catastrophe that scored 7 out of 8 explosivity index. Do you know any other monstrous eruptions that didn't make our list? Let us know in the comments section down below. See you when we see you, and I hope you have a good one. And as always, thanks for watching.